Okay.
So basically, it's your content.
Wish we got more of a vision from him of what he wants. Since we didn't, we'll just go through it. Rob, you have any fun facts about the 10R60 that general public may not know, that I may not know?
Not really, other than I'm sure you already know that they're pushing the Explorers to 600 plus horsepower already, and they're running through these units.
Yes.
Yeah, we have one in Orlando that comes out probably 10, runs 10s easily.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
Other than that, I'm not really hearing of any major issues or concerns.
No, I mean the Bronco guys are all about, well, what can I do when people are, flying limits in their Explorers.
So Broncos obviously is going to be a huge thing, and now that I'm thinking about SEMA, you're going to see a lot, but you're not really going to. There are going to be a lot of trailer queens, right? But there's going to be a lot of high performance Broncos that are doing either
But I don't know
Moab.
I don't know that they'll be run down the track like an Explorer.
Yeah, I mean, being on the trails is one thing, being on them,
But yeah, I mean, you're right. They will see bigger horsepower than stock, but I don't know that they'll be as huge like the Explorers will.
Right.
no. I don't think they will be.
Yeah, because they're not going to be constantly rifling through the gears at high speeds, creating heat, friction. I mean, this is going to be more of a suspension thing,
I don't know. I mean, we said the same thing, and then look at all the diesel guys that go out there and take an 8,000-pound truck down the drag strip. So,
Well, yeah, I think especially with the pandemic, you see a lot of, I lived in Vegas, right? And you see a lot of the off-road stuff, the ATVs, UTVs, sand rails, they're getting every kind of combo you can think of put in them. Everybody wanted to do something outdoors, so it's like, okay, boom.
Is this out of a vehicle or is it a brand new?
this was brand new. I uncrated it and just drained the fluid out. Brand new.
So they're sending them full of fluid?
Yes. This one has the hiss pump, so this would have been an auto start-stop unit.
Yeah. I can't stand it.
No, it's the first thing I do anytime I get a vehicle with one of those.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, if you're not used to it, it's like, oh shit, sitting out of the light, bam.
I guess it's just the mechanic coming out of me. I don't want to hear that starter start.
Mhm.
The starter engage every time I come to a stop.
Well,
I feel like that would wear the shit out of the starter.
I don't know if the starter, you think about the battery life, how we're affecting that. one instant difference here than what we have on most of the 1080s is going to be actually has a manual valve. It's something we have not seen in the Mustang 1080s or F-150s yet.
But the GMs have them, right?
The GMs do have them, yes.
Do you like a manual valve?
Well, what that means for us, with the addition of a manual valve, we could have a mechanical limp mode instead of having to go and rely on electronics. If you lost all power in the drive position, you could have fluid flow going to whatever you want, fifth gear, sixth gear, whatever. So I'll be excited to take this apart and see how that's set up in here. There's a bolt on the pump down there.
So one thing I'd be curious about is the case. Is it different?
Yeah.
To have the auxiliary set up
Yep. I'll figure that out
and
too.
the valve body.
And you can nerd out on that after some lunch. Ernito burrito. Wheel screwdriver. Input.
So,
Oh, drums want to come out with this one.
you know, my friend has you call me.
There we go.
I'm not pissed, but I could be pissed very easily.
So inside of our pump, actually these house the B clutches
So this shit's done. Hangs it up
and
there.
your one-way bearing.
And I said, well, I told my friend that asked me that it was my plans to do first. It was my plan to do. So I did.
All right, there's the whole trans. This clutch now is your A clutch.
But that's okay. I'm not, like I said, I planned on getting it done. Friday, so I got it done Friday.
Grab one of my specialty tools.
Yeah, it won't be that.
Where do you guys place that?
I live in Atmore, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from here. In traffic.
Is that east, west, north?
Northwest. If you go to Pensacola, turn north.
Oh,
It's
okay.
45 minutes north of Pensacola. Right across the state.
This is your P1 Planet.
1 mile across the state line out there.
So one cool thing about your P2 here, there's actually magnets embedded in here. So your speed sensor is reading through your aluminum shell and actually reading its speed off of that. A little different on this one. So what we're pulling out right now, what I'm about to pull out here, is what we're referring to when we talked about the triple drum. So that houses your C, E, and F clutches. C is what we're pulling out right now.
That ring there won't come out?
No, it will not. That's why I was trying to pull it up earlier, it wouldn't. Robbie, can you speak on the issues with this press-in bushing that's in here, the press-in sleeve?
So what the guys are seeing is that, and I can't attribute it to horsepower or there's really nothing to point your finger at, but that bushing in there moves. It will slide up and block the lube passage. And obviously that's
your
big
apply
problem.
Yeah.
So when you lose your apply to the clutches, obviously they're not going to work. And so that's probably one of the biggest issues we're seeing with the 10R platform is that bushing moving inside of this drum.
Right. Now I had heard too there were several defects from the factory. There was a batch of them that had defects that got scrapped. You know anything about that?
I haven't heard that, no.
It's word on the street, that's what I've heard though, is that there's some beware of buying cores, core triple drums, because supposedly from the manufacturer there was an issue, specifically 10R80s. There was a bad batch of them that board had ordered to be destroyed basically, and they got their hands somehow into the market. So.
Well, they probably sold them to somebody expecting them to get scrapped, and then they sold them. So how that happens.
So that's our D clutch. I'd like to do a size comparison just from the 60 even to the 80 and show the massive difference between them.
Yeah, that's one thing I can talk about on here is that on the GM, this piece right here, this bottom little apply ring, has an issue hanging up inside of that drum. It's like I don't know if it just expands or gets too hot and causes an issue, but this will get to where it binds up in the bottom of this drum.
Funny you mentioned that.
And
We'll look at the 80, because when I was taking the 80 apart, that was fighting me. Even a brand new unit just coming out, it was fighting me. So we'll look at that here in a second.
Because I built a 10L90 that had that exact issue, and the clutch was just destroyed. And that seemed to be the culprit.
Yeah. So you're gonna have 3 snap rings. Can you, right there, on the other side there's some picks. You actually have 3 snap rings that hold on this particular pressure plate right here.
What are you needing?
The little picks that are right there. Let's see if I can finagle these out easily. Now what I'll normally do if I'm rebuilding, I'll take a drill bit and make a very, very small indentation there, pop it off like that. two separate problems that I've heard of with that. One, yes, it spins. Two, the finish on it, their final finish works. If you go and look at this, it has cross hatching similar to like a cylinder wall does. And there were people saying that some of the early ones had an issue with the crosshatch pattern not sealing correctly also.
Definitely, with Brian, just that piling fishing. I walked out of the converter the last time too, when I put it back in. And we've seen some variances with cranks too. Like when we had my old engine with the billet crank in there, the clearance was fine. Then we put a Boss crank in it. When I did the new engine, they didn't use billet crank, they used Boss crank, and it was pushing up against so they had to machine it more. It's weird that it would be different. You would think they would all be the same. We're hoping this time out it's going to be. We put it back all back together this last time we went to Norwalk. And,
So this is our F clutch. This is one of our main focuses here at SunCoast is addressing
62.
issues that originate around this clutch itself. So factory 60's only got 3 clutches in F. Factory 60 only has 3 clutches in F.
It's not good.
Nope.
It's good for you guys, but
Yeah, whenever we talk about our expanded capacity kits that we do here, we focus on E and F specifically. Those are always ones that show signs of wear in the 80s, so I don't believe the 60s is going to show us any different. So moving on down, get the E drum assembly apart.
Do you think heat's going to be the same issue in that F drum?
Yeah, it is, and I'm working on some things. I found a couple of things that could be an issue about a week ago, and I'm looking to see what I can do to go and address that.
Now the valve body for the 10R is supposed to help that?
The valve body will definitely help that. So our valve body, and you'll probably want this for some of your notes. Let's circle back to that. Let's actually grab a valve body and I'll talk about it separate outside of this. But yeah, off camera, the early factory 10R80s only had 6 PSI of lube pressure. So lube is what's cooling all your clutches. That's coming across them and cooling them. So you've only got 6 PSI. The later 10Rs have updated that to 16 PSI, and we're roughly 20 PSI once we do our valve body mods.
Now with Brian had actually he ran a nitrous jet into the F drum and ran a separate line to add extra fluid. It seemed to help.
Yeah, that's definitely one way of doing it for sure.
Combined with the valve body, it should hopefully be really good now.
It would be. There's also ways to get fluid quicker out of D to come across and cool F. That's specifically what I'm exploring right now.
Yeah, Brian was doing some shit to the trans, and then Tommy says, I did some stuff, but I'm not going to tell you yet. We'll see how it does.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, nobody wants to have a bad idea, so if it doesn't work, you don't want to be called a dumbass.
Yeah.
I get that, but I come from a little bit of a different background. I don't mind sharing, especially someone that's on our side, what we're doing. You know, we had a guy that worked here that liked to keep secrets, and it just wasn't good for business, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, nice thing with having Brian as my crew chief, he was a transmission guy by trade. So especially engines are still, haven't really changed a whole lot, but these transmissions seem to be changing more now. It's really what separates the times on these cars, transmissions and transmission tuning,
That's where it comes from.
Anybody can say 18, 19 degrees of timing, and here you go, especially with cams and stuff, but
definitely a different shaft.
I'll pop this E drum apart real quick and kind of expand it, see what we're working with here. No, I'd say a good 80% of it is just an 80 scaled down. just do this the easy way. He says he was probably partial ownership. So then I looked a little deeper because we normally look around Clearwater and stuff, and they never advertise anything like that partial. I've never seen that before.
The main ones that do that is the across the bridge on the right, across from Bronco.
Yeah.
That one right there, most of them are partials. It's almost like a timeshare.
Exactly.
But a little different.
But you're on the deed, yeah.
You still have 5 and E.
Still got pretty thick steels.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We got one all the way to the bottom that's finished. Just set everything up the same way. Alright, let's stand it all up like we did the others and lay it out for inches.
Watch that planet.
Yeah. I forgot that one doesn't have a shaft on it.